Welcome back to Ghosted, Gagged, and Gay, the podcast where we talk about queer love, messy dating stories, heartbreak, everything in between, including healing and what it really takes to build relationships in a healthy way and that feels like safe and loving and real. I'm your host, Lone, a gay relationship coach and a rapid transformational therapy practitioner. I help queer men break toxic patterns, heal the root of what keeps them stuck in certain patterns, and learn how to choose love from self-worth instead of fear of being alone or any other kind of fear. If you want support, you can always book a free call with me. But today I'm joined by Stef Vachon, a proud queer man, husband, father, keynote speaker, former international professional figure skater, and the creator and host of the Together Moving Forward podcast. Steph's work is all about healing, resilience, identity, and empowerment for the LGBTQ plus community. After surviving years of homophobia, bullying, and abuse, he spent decades in survival mode before starting a healing journey that changed his life. And now he uses his voice to help others move from survival to self-love. Steph, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, glad that you're here. So Steph, how about we dive right in? I have some burning questions.
Let's go. I'm ready.
So, since like I saw that your theme is this kind of like from survival mode to self-love. So, for anyone listening who is still in who's still in survival mode right now, what did survival look like for you? And what was the first moment you realized, like, I can't keep living like this?
Wow. Well, survival mode was not being present, not being there, even if I was doing any kind of activities or work or being in with socializing, everywhere
Hmm.
I was just not present. It feels like I did so many things, like really cool things too in my life, and it feels like I would like to redo them again because I didn't feel present.
Oh, okay.
Surviving, yeah. So I'm like, okay, I did that, but I did not enjoy it because I was not being myself. I was on a survival mode. Surviving for me was, oh my God, it was being fake. It was being somebody else. It was always looking at how I speak, my voice, how I stand, how I act, how I react to things. What do I say with depends on who I'm with.
Hmm.
Always pleasing. It was just being an actor, like a movie, like constantly.
Yeah.
It's really exhausting. It's really tiring. Uh, you always have to watch for yourself. It's always like anxiety of trying to think what's going to happen if I say that, or if I'm being that, or if I do that. So really, really, really exhausting.
I can,
Um,
yeah, I can imagine actually. So like, how can we know the difference between like this survival mode or like there was once somebody told me that and it resonated with me that we always kind of keep like masks on, like we wear different masks depending on the people we're with, depending on the situation we're in,
yeah.
and to the point where it's really hard to know what is who we are without any mask. So like how to differentiate between this, like, are we just like wearing masks, but we are still trying, like adding our own element and we're being present, or is it something that is like a survival mode?
Well, I was not living my life. All the choices that I was making were for my appearance or other people. So the anxiety just kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Okay.
Um, the one moment that I can tell you about is that I think it was the first time that I said, okay, there's something wrong with me and my life.
Yeah.
I was touring with ice shows in Europe, a professional ice show, and actually, I did talk about this a lot in my podcast. And there's a day that I wanted to go to Paris so bad, and I thought, once I'm in the Eiffel Tower, on top of the Eiffel Tower, that means I'm somebody. I will have done something. Leaving from my little French-speaking town in Canada, where I would feel like somebody that I had accomplished something great.
Mm.
So once I got up there, I felt this emptiness, and I remember looking out at the city and the view, and all my friends were there, the skating friends, and they were all like happy and taking pictures, and I just felt this emptiness like so hard. It just hit me like a truck,
Mm.
and I just felt like jumping off.
Okay.
And that really scared me because I'm like, okay, what's going on? Because I'm here in one of the most wonderful places in the world. I've always wanted to be here. I wanted to accomplish that, and I just feel like dying.
Mm.
I didn't know at the time why, but the feeling of how I felt was one of the most horrible thing I will never remember. I will always remember that. So it took me years after that because I was really good at in denial. I learned to deal with denial growing up and the appearances and to fake it with a smile, keep going, even if you're hurting, if you're feeling like crap inside. And then the anxiety got so bad that in my early 30s, one day I just could not get out of the house. I could not function in society anymore. I could not go to work. It
Mm.
was I get out of the house and I die. It was I didn't know what to do. So then I went to see my doctor. That's when I realized I don't have a choice because I can't live like this. I cannot get out of the house. I cannot go to work. I just feel like I'm gonna die. Like I had to really hit rock bottom. I'm really stubborn and I'm really, yeah, more than stubborn, I would say. So I will keep doing the same thing and the same thing, thinking that a different result would be happening.
Mm.
And so I went to see my doctor and I realized that, well, together that I really needed to take a long time for myself and try to find out what was going on. Because I just, at that point, I was like, I don't know how I can keep living. And I didn't know why. Like it was so, I was so used to be faking it. I didn't know who I was anymore. Like I remember one day,
Mm.
um, I was in a relationship at that time, and my partner asked me what I wanted to have for dinner, and I was like, I don't even know what I like anymore for dinner. Like it got that bad that I totally lost myself. That was
Yes.
like those 2 points that I really, but that time
Hmm.
where I couldn't get out of the house and I went to see my doctor and I thought, okay, I need to do something.
Hmm.
It was, it was the breaking point. I live or I die. It was as simple as that.
Yeah, it sounds actually quite like a harsh feeling, right? Like that we don't really like we don't have awareness of that this is happening in the background. It's running our all lives. But yeah, thank you for sharing actually, and thank you for the honesty. I'm sure like many people can relate. I think like especially in the like us as queer men or the queer community in general, I think we can, like many of us can relate to these things because we grow up like having to act all the time, like that we are somebody
Yeah.
that we're not. So I think it creates this like cycle, and then it becomes like a pattern that we repeat on a daily basis. to the point where, yeah, like we lose ourselves, we lose touch with who we are. We don't even know who we are. And because we're used to these patterns, so we keep doing it and expecting like different results at the end. Um,
You
so
know
like,
what I could add to that is that I grew up in an environment where even when I tried talking about what was happening to me being young,
yeah,
the abuse and the name calling and the homophobia, I was always told that it wasn't true.
oh wow.
So that even pushed me more into thinking, okay, I'm wrong. There's nothing happening to me. So to be even more in denial, because every time I would talk about it
Hmm.
to people that were supposed to take care of me, and yeah, take care of me, and it was like, no, it's not true. It's nothing like this happening. So that that created a feeling of even more shame because I felt like, well, it's not even true. So I'm making everything up. Like I should just be even more, stronger and just keep going to my day-to-day life, which is like it. That took me also a long, long time to realize that there was nothing wrong with me, that it was not my fault, first of all, because I was, thinking it was my fault. And then I thought I was weak for not being able to carry on a normal life. But that played a big, big role also into carrying this and to keep doing and being who I was trying to be instead of just myself.
Yeah, actually, it's amazing words. Like I couldn't say it better. It's yeah, it's really such a shame that we cannot really express who we are or even explore who we are because other people around us tell us like, okay, this is how you should be, and then we feel like, okay, it's our fault that we cannot lead the life that others want us to lead. Um, and then yeah, we get into this cycle of like sh like self-shame, and of course it also affects our confidence, and then we start like also another cycle of self-sabotage, where we, or at least like where it's kind of the self-sabotage. In this case, I see it like in from two perspectives. So on the one hand, like self-sabotage because of the lack of self-confidence, because we are not like fully expressing who we are or being who we are, and of course that affects our self-image. But then on the other hand, I also see it as a way of our bodies or even our minds like telling us um we are living the wrong life, because like our minds and bodies are trying to stop this life in any
Yeah.
way possible, but we're not listening and we keep pushing and pushing. So, and yeah, as you're right, like it's not our fault. And here it's not about like playing the blame game, like, oh, this is this person's fault
No.
or this person's fault. It's more about like realizing, okay, it's not my fault, but at the same time, taking action and responsibility to change your own life and change and like fully come into who you are.
Yeah.
So, Steph, you've been in worlds where like strong expectations, like with like strong expectations, basically. So the sports, the performance, the public image. So how did masculinity, like rules or acceptable queerness, basically affect your self-worth? And like, how was it for you? Like, how did you unlearn that?
Um, it took a long time, and I would even say that it's still I still have to work on it sometimes because it was so much in me, in my body, in my heart, in my head, for being somebody else, well, being
Hmm.
1,000 people, basically,
Yeah.
every day. It took a lot of I had to get some help, a lot of help. So I started therapy in my early 30s. After that day that I could not get out of the house, um, first thing I did was I wrote everything on paper. I wrote my whole life. I wrote from my childhood to until that day. I wrote about the choices that I was making. That's when I realized I was not being myself. I wanted to understand,
Mm-hmm.
and that I was making choices for the rest of the world, not me, and that I had lost completely myself because I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
But then when I started writing, I started realizing who I was when I was a little boy, you know, and
Yeah.
that I was creative. I was really strong. I was determined. I was so disciplined. Nobody had to tell me what to do. And even with figure skating, I was learning by myself. I was watching on TV. I was disciplined. I was such a hard
Wow.
worker that, and that I had lost all of that because I had no confidence anymore. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what to do. I didn't know who I was. And by that time, I had given up on figure skating with everything. So I was not performing. I was not coaching. I was not even watching it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I had thrown everything on the garbage, all my costumes, my trophies, my medals, except my
Wow.
skates. They were up there in the closet. I don't know why I kept them. I don't know, it must have been something. But so I think, well, I had to get help. So I
Mm-hmm.
started with a therapist. And actually, the way I started with my therapist is that my first session is I brought with me the whole pile of papers that I just had written about my life.
Wow.
And I threw it on his desk and I said, "You're my last hope. If you can save me, I will be back. And if you can't, I'm gone because I don't have the tools. I don't know what to do with this. It's like this big garbage bag of the shame and the guilt and that loneliness." So he made me promise to come back the next week, which I did. And he told me that he was going to help me and things were going to get a lot better if I do everything he tells me to do. And I mean, like, I'm so disciplined that I was like, yeah, give it to me. I felt like that day was the first time somebody was listening to me and hearing me, really. So I'm like, okay, here's my savior. I'm going to do everything he tells me to do. I chose life that day. And it was step by step. He gave me homeworks, he gave me books to read. I joined support groups. Um, I went 1,000 miles an hour into my recovery because I was like, I cannot go anymore like this. And I want to
Mm-hmm.
live, and I want to live now. And so I would say that was the first step to recognize that I can't live like this anymore. Get some help because I didn't know what to do. I didn't have the tools. I was not taught how to, you know, you cannot just go and say, okay, love myself now. No, no, no. It doesn't work like that. There's so many things you can do. You can join support groups in your community. You can listen to podcasts. You can read books. You can get therapy. There's so much now you can do because we cannot do that alone. I could not do that alone because I didn't have any tools. The tools that I had were, you know, to learn how to hate myself and to hide and to
E-
be ashamed of who I was day by like every day. So step by step, little step here and there is I did something every day. I did a little something.
Yeah.
And I still do every day. There's not one day that I will not do something for my recovery.
Yeah, that's actually quite important. It's like two things. First of all, like it's a reminder that we always need help, right? Like, so imagining it like we are living in a situation, we have a certain set of skills, and if we want to change our situation, if we want to uh, like lead a different life, then we need a like maybe to learn new skills for or a new set of skills for this new life to be so that we are able to lead this new life. And of course we cannot, I mean, of course, some people can learn it by themselves, but it's very difficult. And like, why? Like, why would we need to go through this alone? There are always people to help. There are always communities to help.
Yeah.
Um, So it's really a reminder to always seek help, even if you think, or if you have a doubt, like maybe this is not something worth it to ask for help. Always go ask for help. Like you will get the answer. You will know by yourself whether this was something worth asking like help for or not. And the second thing, like like I wanted to highlight again as well from like what you shared with us is that journaling, like even in my coaching, journaling is a very essential part to really start realizing what's going on inside your mind, inside your body,
Mhm.
like certain patterns in your life. So that is really a great step into real like to start realizing whether there is something stopping you, there is some kind of limitation or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to hear, like, what helped me a lot is to hear other people's stories,
Ah,
you
okay.
know, because, and this is why I'm doing the podcast, because yes, helping others, but it's helping me first. Like, seriously,
Exactly.
every day that I have a guest or I do an episode, because then you're like, oh, I'm not alone. Yeah, and the shame and the guilt like goes away because you're like, okay, I'm not the only one living that. So that helps a lot just to hear other people's stories and how they move on, how they go forward from, feeling what they were feeling like. I mean, I know how I felt for way too long in my life. So that helps a lot too, like to hear other people's stories. It was such a great improvement for me.
Yeah, exactly. Like for me too, like listening to podcasts or being in communities like meetups in person with like other queer people, like also have like has helped me a lot over the years. Um, So actually, like for queer listeners who feel alone right now, like even if they are out and maybe they feel or they believe that okay, they're fine because they're out now, right? Because we always have this is what like like not maybe Hollywood, but like movies in general. I feel like it always shows us like, coming out is like the final step, but actually
Oh,
I always feel like it's the first step. It's like the really first step to being who you are is coming out. And then later you realize like how long and big the journey is. Then you realize like coming out was actually, even though it's not nothing, but it's still like nothing in comparison to the work that has to be put into yourself for like years later to like uncover all the like lingering effects of internalized homophobia or even like external homophobia on like in our lives. So, for the queer listeners who feel alone right now, like what do you want them to know?
well, first, that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. That's the first thing. Um, and that there's a whole community like you. This is why it's so important to go and reach out. Uh, you were talking about the coming out. I had my coming out. It was in the summer, and I call it the pink cloud. It lasted for like about 2, 3 months.
Yep.
It was great, and it's such an important step. Yes, it is. And at first, I thought I was cured, I was healed, and I had the best summer. I made friends. I was at the bar every night, having so much fun.
Yep.
But then I went back to real life after the summer, and all the shame and the guilt and the loneliness started coming back more and more and more. And that's why I had at one point, the breaking point in my early 30s. It took me that long. It took me like over 10 years, even close to 15 years to realize that I had to do something because it got worse and worse and worse. So what I would say is be aware of what's going on inside and start as soon as possible because the more you wait to listen to what's going on inside and listen to your body and listen to your spirit, in your mind, what's going on in your heart, the more you wait, it just gets bigger, 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 and bigger. I mean, I see it with so many friends that just decided to just keep faking it, and they're smart and they're at my age, and some of them even took their lives, and we don't want that. Of course, we don't want that because of other people, what they would tell us and how they treat us. No, I mean, it's so unfair. So I would say be aware of what's going on as soon as possible and then start doing something about it. Like we
Exactly.
said, like the community, go get help, listen to podcasts, do something because there's absolutely nothing wrong with us. No matter what other people say, don't listen to the noise because it's not true. I mean, I would, there would be somebody coming in front of me and say, here's the pill, you can be straight heterosexual. And I would say, never, like, get this out of my face. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm so happy now and lucky to be in my community. I think we're just so much more creative and special. And why be like in that container, like what society tells us? No way. No way. Like there's no way that
Exactly.
I would take that pill. I would throw it in the garbage. And it's like, no, it's just to, yeah, start listening to who you are and do one little step at a time, but do
Exactly.
something every day. Like that I still do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like all of us at some point we wanted that pill, but like actually I think this is one would be one great sign that you're healing is like when you start thinking or doubting whether you still want this pill or not.
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
actually a good sign. Like always ask yourself, if somebody gives me the pill right now, do I take it immediately? Do I think about it or do I say no? And then you can see you can measure where you are on your healing journey.
I
And
like that. That's good.
yeah, and actually, yeah, I need to ask myself every day now. And actually, I wanted to also like add to this that one of the things like I started noticing, and I'm sure you also started noticing, and so many other people start noticing when like when they are on their healing journey, when they're starting to accept themselves, is first of all, is that they realize, or we all realize that we have to draw a lot of boundaries with like between like our like us, like basically, so between ourselves, like and also between us and our like other people. So, and then with that, first of all, it's difficult. It can be very difficult to draw boundaries with yourself, but it also could lead to like losing people around you or like the whole your whole social life could change if you have one, or if you don't have one, maybe you start noticing that you started having one. So there could be a lot of changes in social life, and but don't be afraid, like losing someone, no matter how close they are to you, even even if like you lose those people, but always remember you're winning yourself, and that's what life is for. Like you're living your life for yourself and not for other people. So yeah, so I think it's also important to really realize that healing can look not like it's not only feeling better by the day. Sometimes you feel worse because sometimes, yeah, you might lose this friendship or parents or family or like anything, and that could feel hard. But remember, this is not like you're not doing it wrong if it comes to that point. It means that you're doing it right, because change is not easy because we're used to certain patterns, but it's also at the end it will be worth it. It will all be worth it.
Well, yeah, and what I would add to this is that if the people around you, you're putting boundaries and they're not happy with it and they're not there anymore, they were not there anyway. That's what
True.
I learned. They were not there. And I was so scared of ending up alone at first when I started putting my boundaries because I thought, oh my God, everybody that is in my life right now, I don't want them anymore because they're not respecting my boundaries. And I thought, that I was going to feel alone. And it went the opposite because the more I was putting my boundaries and I was cleaning my environment, the more I felt happy with myself, content. that I didn't need to have all these people around me because for such a long time I needed to have the crowd, the fake crowd, but they weren't there for me. They
True.
were there when I was being s- these other thousand people. So the more you put, yeah, your boundaries, and the hardest boundaries for me was to stop being loyal to people that said they loved me but did not respect me. So,
Oh,
of course, close friends, I mean, members of your family, but I mean, after trying for 30, 40 years and still did not respect my boundaries, I think it was enough for me to say enough. I mean,
yeah.
I've tried long enough and I kept losing myself. I kept putting up with stuff that I was not respecting myself. I was not respecting who I was. And at one point, I was like, when I started slowly, putting my boundaries, and I had to put people out of my life. And the more I did it, the easier it got. And the more I felt so happy. And I started loving who I was. And I'm not feeling alone at all. And right now, I would say, I mean, I have so many less friends, but the friends that I have and the people I chose in my life are fulfilling me so much that I don't need that crowd, that fake crowd. I don't want that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's quality over quantity, right?
Oh, so much.
So, yeah, Steph, thank you so much for sharing all this info. Before we wrap up the episode, can you tell us more about like what you're doing right now and also about your podcast in short?
Well, my podcast is Together Moving Forward. It's about reclaiming yourself, self-love, self-respect, and setting boundaries. What we just talked about is just learning to be proud of who we are and that there's absolutely nothing wrong with us. And I want us to grow, to be together, because I think by listening to other people's stories, by helping each other, by listening to each other, this is how we get stronger. So, and I'm now 57 years old. I'm back into figure skating, something that I quit,
Oh,
a long time ago.
that's
And
amazing.
I just came back from an international competition for adults in Germany. I was telling you,
Wow.
I'm going to the gay games in Valencia in 3 weeks. Um, I'm married with a beautiful husband, and we now have our own son that we adopted a few years
Oh,
ago, and he's been with us for 6 years now. So, I mean, my life it's more than 180 degrees. It's totally the opposite. And I mean, I don't recognize who I am. Well, I do. I'm back to who I was when I was a little boy, but
yeah,
just
exactly.
in a grown-up body. So but I'm still healing. But now the thing is that I mean, it's a beautiful journey because I've got the tools. I know what to do. If I need help, I don't wait anymore. I don't stay alone and thinking I can get it done on my own if I don't. Of course, I've got more tools and it's a lot easier. And I mean, I live in the present moment so much more, and I make sure that every day I'm having a good day. And it's my choice. It's not always easy. It's never always easy, but there's always something that I can go back to and be thankful for. And I have my little routine, when I wake up, what I do, I go kiss my boy, good morning, and then
Oh.
my husband, and then the dog, and then all those little things are so important for me now. They are my joy and they are my healing that I have to keep doing every day. So, yeah, I would say that that's pretty much who I am today.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I'm really happy to hear like where you are right now. It's very inspiring to me, and I'm sure to so many listeners. And yeah, I will list your links to your podcast and your Instagram and your TikTok. So please, if you want to connect with Steph and check out his work, and listen to his podcast to listen to even more inspiring stories, please check the links in the caption or in the episode description. Yeah, and if you're listening and you have a story, whether funny, painful, messy, or healing, and you want to share it with me here and with the listeners, please reach out, book a call. I'm always happy to have you on the show. Like all the links will also be listed. And yeah, thank you again, Steph, and looking forward to connecting more in the future. And happy healing.
Well, thank you so much, Rio.
Okay, then, bye bye.